I'm your host, SinDragonLord, and this is week number 10 of the Global Pokemon Society Draft League. This is the final week of the regular season before we go into the playoffs. And yes, even though me and Seattle are going to be playing, it actually does not impact the top eight placement or pairings whatsoever. So I'm just going to go over the top 8 with you right now. In first place, yours truly, your Phoenix Primals. In second place, the Driftvale City Dragapults. In third place, the Scotland Stouts. In fourth place, the Mid Valley Meowths. In fifth place will be the Seattle Shiny Sylveon. In sixth place will be the Lavender Town Gengars. In seventh place will be Tokyo Togekiss. And finally, in eighth place, we got the Buffalo Bidoofs. The reason why those pairings might seem off is just because all of our divisional champions have precedence for the top 4 slots, regardless of how they place in their differentials and whatnot. So that is why, even though Seattle looks like she's in third place right now, she will be in fifth, and even if she loses, she will still be above the Lavender Town Gengars, which will secure her placement in fifth. So, without any further ado, let's just get into her team and see what we're working with. Alright, so we got Great Tusk, Volcanion, Corviknight, Whimsicott, Tinkaton, Regieleki, Umbreon, Tentacruel, Masquerain, and Hydrapple. So, right off the bat, this team is fucking terrifying. And this team is so terrifying that in 10 weeks, she's made no swaps, no trades, no free agent swaps, nothing. Her team was ranked S tier when we did the team tiering list, and well, yeah, I mean, not much more can really be said. I mean, it's a scary fucking team, especially for us. I'm gonna explain why. First reason is because 2 steel types. Steel types are a bit of an issue for me. I do have a bit of a steel weakness. I also have a little bit of an issue with fire types. Especially this particular fire type that she has because it quad resists ice. And then even freeze dry is just a normal 2 times resistance. Yeah. I do see some potential weather disruption from the Whimsicott or potentially maybe from the Tentacruel. Whimsicott would probably be the most likely candidate, even though it's kind of frail and does not like my ice offense, but it can terrestrialize, so I guess that could be a thing to watch out for, is Whimsicott potentially being weather disruption. Regieleki is another tricky one. We do have our ways around it, but it does outspeed Let's Rush the Titan. That's just how fast he is. Even doubling our speed does not matter at all. We're still getting outsped by it. So the biggest things that I'm kind of worried about are the Volcanion and the Corviknight, to be honest with you. The Whimsicott on the Tentacle could be a bit of an issue, but we got answers to pretty much the rest of it. It's just a matter of using our answers wisely. That way they're around and healthy when the appropriate threat shows its face. So yeah, without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the part where I go into what we're actually bringing. Okay, so we got the Titan. So basically, there was no hope of outspeeding Regieleki, so I went with enough speed investment to outspeed the next fastest threat, which would be Choice Scarf Jolly Great Tusk. She has scarfed this Great Tusk before. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that she'll do it again. So I wanted enough. I wanted enough speed to be able to outspeed Choice Scarf, Great Tusk, and with that, I'll outspeed everything else naturally, barring that Regieleki. And then we put the rest of it in defense. Just because most of her offense is on the physical side, I think. Let's see, Volcania, no. Let's see, Great Tusk, Corviknight, Tinkaton. That's about honestly about 50-50, but we put the rest of our bulk in defense, just because the steel, um, most of the steel offense is coming off of the physical attack stat. But we're running a little bit of a different set this time as far as moves. We got Belly Drum, Ice Shot, Earthquake, and Terra Blast with Terra Electric. So the reason for that is one, Electric resists Steel. That's the main bit. If she brings Corviknight, basically we have perfect coverage because everything on her team is either weak to or will take huge damage from Ice, Ground, and Electric. There's just no two ways about it. After a Belly Drum, the things I'd be using Ice Shard against is a guaranteed KO. Terra Blast, Terra Electric, Terra Blast, mainly there to hit the Tentacruel and the Corviknight, but mostly the Corviknight though, because if I had like Ice Spinner on it like I normally do, there's a good chance that the Corviknight would wall me, whereas Terra Blast, it's gonna do a good chunk of change as far as damage goes. It's a guaranteed one shot after a Belly Drum. So I felt like I really needed to bring the Skeledirge. I was really against it just because it does not fare well into the Great Tusk or the Volcanion. But I needed answers to the Steel. That's basically it. I needed a resist to handle the steals, and I needed super effective coverage on them. That wasn't just a Titan. So we got Earth Power, Torch Song, Slack Off, and Will-O-Wisp. Earth Power over Hex just because I need to hit the Volcanion on the switch potentially. Otherwise, Torch getting pretty much walled by it. That and Fire and Earth is actually, or Fire and Ground rather, is actually pretty decent coverage into her team for the most part. Then we got Donphan. So we got Rocks, we got Rapid Spin, just in case she decides to bring more of a lead Great Tusk with Rocks of her own, because my team doesn't particularly like Rocks, so of course we gotta have Rapid Spin. We got Earthquake, we got Knockoff, and we got, of course, Rocks of her own. Unfortunately, she's got a plethora, a metric fuck ton of ways to remove hazards. Like, I'm pretty sure half her fucking team can remove hazards. Like, that, it's actually kind of nuts how much hazard removal she has. Which is probably why she's my worst matchup of the season. I think the only one that comes close was maybe Mid Valley's team, but her team is definitely, like, in terms of in terms of just how the teams look on paper, she definitely has the edge over me. But so yeah, it's gonna be a rough day. It's gonna be a rough day. And then we got Choice Specs Ninetales with Aurora Veil. So the reason for this is mostly damage. I believe it's a matter of what was the calc? I think it's the Great Tusk. I may change my mind about the choice specs. I have to remind myself exactly why I needed the specs. I think it's so that way Blizzard 2-hit KOs Corviknight. That way we don't get outs. That way we don't get walled by Corviknight. So if he wants to switch into a Blizzard, it'll get 2-hit KO'd, and I don't have to worry about it any further. That's why. So that's why I'm going choice specs instead of light clay. But we still do have screens. But the only reason I'm not putting too much emphasis on it is just because defog is a thing, which will remove my hazards and my screens. So it's more there if I need it, but otherwise we're just there to punch holes basically, or as big of a hole as we can. And then we got Applejack. He's only made one appearance so far, but there's two reasons why I'm bringing it. First reason, I'm anticipating her to bring, if she's going to interrupt my weather in any way, shape, or form, I'm anticipating it to be stun. Specifically with the Whimsicott. You could potentially bring Rain with Tentacruel, but I think Whimsicott and Sunny Day is the most likely answer, just because, one, it does support the Great Tusk too, by giving it the Photosynthesis boost while interrupting my weather. So we can take full advantage of that by using our growth set. And then if we do manage to keep rocks on field, we can just Dragon Tail any threats. We got growth, we got Giga Drain, we got recover. We can be an annoying little shit. The only problem is this cannot stay in on Tinkaton if she brings it. Just because Mold Breaker knockoff will get around the sticky hold and I will lose the Eviolite, which is basically what makes Dipplin kind of usable, is the Eviolite. So we got to make sure that we have other things to deal with the Tinkaton, which I think we're okay. And then finally, we got Glow King. Standard stuff. I've Chilly Reception, Future Sight, Toxic, and Flamethrower. Reason for Toxic, I'm still torn between Toxic and Sludge Bomb, to be honest with you. But the idea is hit Umbreon on a switch. If it's synchronized, I'm a poison type, I won't get poisoned. Toxic can't miss because it's a poison type. And the Umbreon will be on a timer. And same thing with like Volcanion too, where it's likely going to be Assault Vest. So just kind of ways to, put things on timers. And then of course we got Regenerator, we got Icy Rock with the Chilly Reception, Flamethrower. The Flamethrower is there to hit the steals because otherwise I get walled by them. So at least with Flamethrower I'm able to deal some sort of damage. So yeah, that's it for the team, you guys. Thank you. But let's go ahead and get into the battle portion of this video right out now. Welcome to the battle portion. We got Doomfan Jr. and Whimsicott lead. I predict the taunt here, so I go straight into Skeledirge just to, try to get some semblance of offensive pressure. She goes for the U-turn. And we see a Volcanion switch, which is not great for Skeledirge because a Steam Eruption will absolutely douse the hopes and dreams of the Skeledirge of doing anything in this game one. So we switch right into Dipplin, but she actually goes for the taunt, and all right, so that's fine. That just means that Dipplin basically has Giga Drain to work with. It's fine. So I switch into Slowking. Because unless this Corviknight has Taunt as well, we should just be able to go for a Chilly Reception. And then we go straight into the Ninetales because Taunt on the Titan trying to Belly Drum might be a problem. But she goes straight for the Sunny Day, which means my Blizzard is going to miss. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. We go for another one. It does land. It brings the Whimsicott down to its Sash, so we are able to confirm the Sash on the Whimsicott. She goes for a U-turn into Corviknight. And this is not a favorable matchup for us, so we go straight back into Skeledirge. Take that Iron Head. And Skeledirge is almost back at the full HP after that. She goes straight into the Umbreon. I have to imagine she wants to try to Toxic me or something. That's the only reason I can think of why she would go into Umbreon over Volcanion. So I go ahead and switch into Slowking Galar, predicting the Toxic. and that's exactly what she goes for. Unfortunately, she goes ahead and reveals another taunt user. So that's 2 taunts. Let's keep count here of how many taunt users she brought to this match. So we go into Ninetales because the Slowking can't really 1v1 this Umbreon without its status moves, such as Toxic and whatnot. I just put a damper on those plans that I talked about in the pre-battle analysis. So we go for a Blizzard into what I have to assume is an Assault Vest Volcanion. And that still did decent enough damage considering it quad resists. So she goes into Tinkaton, and it is the Mold Breaker, which means that if we do get knocked off, we will lose the Eviolite. Thankfully, though, we were able to go for the Giga Drain and pop that air balloon, so now this thing is susceptible to ground type attacks. So we go straight into the Dawn Fan to take the knockoff. We don't care so much about the boots at this point in time. We go ahead and set up our Stealth Rocks when she brings in the Corviknight. Now, we know for a fact that they're going for Defog here. So we go ahead and just knock off the Rocky Helmet. And then we can honestly just set up another one, I think is what we do. Yeah, we set up another Stealth Rock. We see what they're going to lock themselves into, which is the Headlong Rush, but it doesn't matter because we go straight for the knockoffs. I wanted to confirm if this thing was Scarfed or not, which it is. She did go ahead and bring the Scarf Doomfan, so Doomfan Senior does annihilate Doomfan Junior. But now we go into the Ninetales, which will absolutely outspeed this Dawnfan, or this Great Tusk now, excuse me. We go for the Moonblast, though, and of course, we frog the Mirror Armor, because, you know, why wouldn't we, right? So we go straight back out to Skeledirge, which pretty much walls this thing. And we know likely they're going for the Defog, so Skeledirge is a pretty safe switch in. We go for the Earth Power, predicting the Volcanion switch. But she ends up going for the Roost, which is fine. And then, of course, we get another Mirror Armor Prog, because why wouldn't we? So, yeah, at this point, like, I know that Stealth Rocks are not going to stay up, but if we can set them up in a safe manner, it will force a situation where we can kind of force her to defog, which will give us either a free switch or a free setup, which we got to keep applying that pressure, which is pretty much the game plan at this point. If the rocks don't stay up, it's totally fine. Now we go into the Umbreon, which is Terra Ground, which I don't know why she went Terra Ground into the Ice team. I'll have to ask her about that. I kind of want to know what her mindset was or what she was preparing for. But now the Tinkaton is back up to full, and I know a Gigaton Hammer is probably coming, but nope, she actually reveals that Tinkaton has the Stealth Rocks, and my Rapid Spinner is gone. So that is unfortunato for us. Again, I'm trying to hit the Volcanion on the switch. So we go for another Earth Power. And we know that she's probably going to switch into Corviknight since I'm locked into Earth Power. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swap into the Glowking. The idea is set up a Chilly Reception, go into Titan and go for a Belly Drum. However, the Umbreon existing sort of derails that plan because as soon as I go for a Belly Drum, they can in theory just go for a Foul Play. So I decided to go into the Ninetales instead. And we just fire off Ice Beam. And we take down the Corviknight, which is a huge... well, it's mainly an issue because it's the main thing that they have to get rid of rocks, but I don't have the ability to set up rocks anymore, so it's not really that big of an issue anymore. But, alas, we go on the Glow King. And at this point, she reveals her third taunt user. So we have Umbreon, we have Whimsicott, and we have Volcanion that all have taunt. So at this point, I know Skeledirge is kind of dead weight at this point. So I go ahead and I switch into Diplin to get a free swap. And I don't remember if I went for Giga Drain. Yeah, I went for Giga Drain. I could have either gone for Giga Drain or Recover there just to get back up to a healthier HP. Now, the Future Sight does hit the Tinkaton. So I go ahead and switch into Knockoff. She knocks off our specs, which does mean that we can, in theory, switch up moves. And we take down the Tinkaton with an Ice Beam. And it also means we can set up the Aurora Veil and not have to worry about being locked into it necessarily. We go back into Paul to take whatever this Volcania wants to throw at us. We once again get taunted, but that's fine. I went for another Future Sight because I knew the taunt was coming. We go straight back out into Diplin. Take the Earth Power. We take that really comfortably. I think I go for... Do I go for a Recover or a Giga Drain? I think I'll go for a Giga Drain here. Yeah, I go for a Giga Drain, which does 27%. At this point, the Future Sight does hit and the Volcanion does go down. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable, but unfortunately, because I Terra Dragoned, we are no longer resisted to the Headlong Rush. So now, I go into the Ninetales to go for a Blizzard. And the idea here is maybe Ninetales can take it from here. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have just went for the Aurora Veil. But that's not what I ended up doing. So now we're in a situation where it's Umbreon and Great Tusk. And I know that I'm not able to safely set up a Belly Drum in the face of this Umbreon, so I don't. I just go for the Ice Shard. They go for a Foul Play, which does take stem to 45, progging Citrus. Now, I thought about trying to go for a Belly Drum here, predicting the switch, but I decided to go for an Ice Shard instead, just in case, because if they went for Foul Play, we just lose. Unfortunately, Ice Shard does not do a lot to the Donphan, or to the Great Tusk, excuse me. And unfortunately, that's going to be where Game 1 ends because, yeah, this Great Tusk is absolutely going to polish off this Game 1 for her. So Game 1 goes to Seattle in a very close, very tight game. Let's go on and go into Game 2. Numero dos. I decided to lead with the Glow King while they lead with Umbreon. Now, I know for a fact that this Umbreon has Taunt, so I go straight into Skeledirge to take that Taunt. And then I go straight back into the Glow King to take the Toxic. I'm trying to play mind games with her at this point. So she does go for the Taunt. So at this point, I'm just going to knock off, because even if she switches, whatever switches in is going to have their item gone. So it just seemed like a very safe play to make. She goes for the Toxic on the Donphan. I go for an Earthquake, which does a good chunk of damage, but the Wish will, unfortunately, put it back into a decent range. So I go into the Ninetales to try to get more damage with the Moonblast, see if I can get something going. But she ends up going straight back into Corviknight. Psych, just kidding. Of course, I knew the Corviknight was coming in. We go for a Blizzard, but I actually miscalced because I thought a Choice Specs Blizzard would 2-hit KO, but it does not. It is just shy of a 2-hit KO. And now we're in this pickle. And of course, we get the freeze, but she thaws out immediately, which is unfortunate. So now the Volcanion comes in, which quad resists. We do about like what? A fourth of their HP, a fifth of their HP. We do a fifth of their HP. So we switch into Diplin. They switch into the Tinkaton, which is not a good matchup for the Apple Boy. So we go into Donphan. At this point, we're just looking to break the balloon. So I think we go for a knockoff. And we actually get to knock off that Corviknight's Rocky Helmet, which is not too helpful, honestly. The only thing that is really going to be being affected by that Rocky Helmet is the Donphan itself. But now the Donphan does go down. We go into Slow King. We go for a Chilly Reception, knowing that they're going to go for Defog more than likely. And so now, we're off to the races. We go straight into Titan. And we know it's pretty much safe to set up a belly drum in this thing's face. But they go into the Whimsicott, which does still have its Focus Sash, which is unfortunate. So we bring it down to its Sash. She does reveal the Sunny Day, which we did anticipate. She goes for a taunt here. I think she was just sacking it at this point, just because what more can this Whimsicott realistically do? Probably just wanted to safe switch into something else. Goes into the Choice Scarf Great Tusk, but then double switches into the Corviknight, which will go down to an Ice Shard. So that is 2 Mons that this Titan has taken out. In comes Umbreon, which will get taken out by a Terra Blast. It is what it is. Taunt ends. It doesn't matter because we are basically set to just win this game now. Terra Blast, Terra Electric takes down the Volcanion. And here comes the Tinkaton, which does have its balloon still intact, but that's okay because the Terra Blast will take it out. So we don't have to worry about that. And then the last but not least, it is that Doomfan, which will go down to an Ice Shard. So game 2 goes to your Phoenix Primals. Let's see who gets into the definitive game 3. Do we keep our undefeated streak? Do we go 10-0 or do we lose? All right, decisive game 3. We lead the Titan because we just figured if she leads wrong, we know we outspeed the whole team basically because of what we learned in game 2 when we didn't have Slush Rush at all. So we tried to see if we could catch her off guard, but no dice. She leads the Umbreon, which was like the perfect lead for her. We go ahead and go into Applejack, which will get hit with a taunt. I think we just go for a Giga Drain here, just to get some chip. We could have predicted the Corviknights and double swapped, but I didn't want to over predict in game 3. We go into the Glow King. We see if we can have some repeat magic from last game as the snow stops here. But she does in fact go for the Umbreon. But because of that, we are able to know what we're going to switch into. So we go ahead and go into the Dawn Fan, which will be able to knock off that Umbreon's leftovers, which will be very handy. But she won't have any passive recovery on this Umbreon anymore. And because we know she doesn't have Protect on her set, Wish Stalling will be very difficult as well. I think Taunt took the place of Protect, which I can see the logic behind it. Now we go into the Ninetales as she goes into the Corviknight. So we are going to go ahead and switch into Skeledirge, just because the Iron Head will take us out. So, like, Skeledirge is super free of a switch into the Corviknight. I believe we go for a Torch Song here. Yes, we do. And Skeledirge is looking pretty hot. We go for an Earth Power to try to hit the Volcanion on the switch, but no dice. So we just start firing off more Torch Songs, seeing what we can figure out. She goes for a Wish. I was hoping that we could hit the Volcanion, but it wouldn't have mattered either way because the Wish would have brought it back up to full. So in hindsight, I probably just went for another Torch Song, but it's fine because we can just keep firing off Torch Songs, and the longer that she keeps this Umbreon in, the less safe the Volcanion is on the switch. And I believe I go for an Earth Power here, and here's where she brings in the Volcanion. That Volcanion is not going to appreciate that Earth Power, and that is one huge threat out of the way that Skeledirge just very cleanly handles. Here comes the Great Tusk. So we go into the Applejack, and they go for a Headlong Rush, which is going to force a switch So knowing that, uh, we switch into the Ninetales Alolan. I don't know if we stay in or not. Yeah, we do. We go for a Blizzard just to pop the air balloon. And she sets up her rocks, but we still have Donphan in the back, so we're not in as much trouble this go around. We go for another Blizzard, and she goes for a Gigaton Hammer, and that'll absolutely take the Ninetales out. No doubt about it. Now we go into the Donphan now. Now we got to play a little game with this Gigaton, because I have to assume that at some point she's going to want to switch into the Corviknight to try to take an Earthquake. So I go for a Rapid Spin first just to clear the rocks. Then I go for a knockoff, predicting the Corviknight switch. But alas, it doesn't happen. So at this point, I'm like, okay, she's staying in. We'll just go for an Earthquake. Now we take out the Tinkaton. And the Toxic will take us down to 27%. We will take another one. The main thing is we need to be able to get one more Rapid Spin before we go down. Which is exactly what happens. We got rid of the Stealth Rocker, and we broke the Focus Sash on the Whimsicott. So I'd say that was a really good exchange. She goes for the U-turn into Great Tusk, which will take a Torch Song. Now, she could predict my switch and go for close combat, but it's not worth losing Skeletor, so I just go ahead and go into the Diplin, because even if they do go for the close combat, it's not going to do much. So that's a fairly safe switch. Now, I think this time I do go for the Recover just to get me back up to full, because Applejack will be the way that I keep this Great Tusk in check since the Ninetales is gone. So now I go into the Glow King. We go straight into the Chilly Reception, which will go into Satitan, I believe. Yep, we go into Satitan. Now, knowing that the foul play is obvious, we're not going to Belly Drum. We're just going to go for a Terra Electric Terra Blast. And hope that we get the KO, but they actually go for a Wish instead. When she switches in the Corviknight to take the Ice Shard, but now we are free to set up a Belly Drum in the face of this Corviknight. And now, that's a wrap. That is an absolute wrap. Now this Titan is completely able to just annihilate the rest of this team. No Focus Sash to change the weather, and even if she could change the weather, we're still faster than the entire team. So, and the one thing that we're arguably not faster than, we one-shot with Ice Shard. So here comes the Great Tusk, which will go down to an Ice Shard. And then, finally, the Umbreon, which is at 3 HP, will go down to an Ice Shard. And that is the conclusion of week number 10. Thank you so much. You're undefeated. Phoenix Primals will be going on to the top 8 into the playoffs. Shall we continue our perfect season by taking a championship? Let's find out. Catch you guys next time in Top